and welcome to our next on-location video. We're up here in the high Rocky Mountains, over 10,000 feet at CHASM Falls. As you can see, the snow is still up on the mountains. We're actually here on the first full day of summer, and the snow's melting. And as you can see, the falls behind me, it's creating the snow melt that is bringing in this little river creek that's flowing downhill. And it made me think of something that I postulated in my latest book, Creations Week, and it's all about Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2. And so I wanted to share it with you, and this goes to the Garden of Eden. So we're going to be looking at, I've got my pocket Bible here, and nice to have, because we had to hike 2 miles up really steep terrain to get here, and so it'd be hard to carry my full Bible. But here it's in Genesis chapter 2 verse 8, it says, "And the Lord God planted a garden toward the east in Eden, and there he placed the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground the Lord God caused to grow every tree that is pleasing to the sight and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And a river was going out of Eden to water the garden, and there it divided it between 4 heads. The name of the first is Pishon, which is the one that surrounds the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. The bdellium, the onyx stone is there. The name of the second is Gihon. That is the one that's going around the whole land of Cush. And the name of the third river is Tigris. That is the one going east of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates." Now, if you look on a map and you see the confluence of rivers from the Persian Gulf, you will see that there are 4 rivers that converge and flow out into the Persian Gulf. And so many have postulated or speculated that that is the spot where the rivers are talking about. However, it says the water was going out of Eden, and from there it divided and became 4 heads. So many have looked at the modern day Euphrates and the Tigris, and they're relatively close together where they start. However, this says they start from one river, which is coming up out of the ground. And so when you factor that in and you look on the map, all of the modern rivers that are there, and we're talking about the Euphrates, the Tigris, the Karun River, which goes through Iran, modern-day Iran, ancient Persia, and also the Wadi al-Batin River, which is going through Saudi Arabia. It's just a dried riverbed, but they found it with satellite imagery. And during rainy seasons, it actually still flows, and it exits the place where those rivers all converge with the Persian Gulf. So the question became, well, why does it say it was going out of Eden, and then it became 4 heads and split out? So people have looked up in Turkey, and they've looked up in Armenia, and all kinds of other places. Other people have speculated India, but none of those places has anything to do really with this account. And what the actual reality is, and I put this in my book in Creations Week, is that after the flood, the topography changed because of the massive cataclysm and the earthquakes that were involved, and the tectonic plate shifting that was involved after and during the flood. And that's when I believe the elevation of that land shifted and entered the stratosphere. It went way, way, way up into the high elevations that we know today in the Taurus Mountains, the Caucasus Mountains up in Turkey. And from there, the whole hydrologic cycle changed, because we know from Genesis that there was no rain on the earth, but there was a mist that used to rise up from the face of the earth and water the whole face of the earth. But now, after the fall and after the flood, now what happens is the water has to be purified, so it has to go up into the heavens. And as you can see up on the mountains behind me, it crystallizes and it becomes snow. And the modern day sources for the Tigris, the Karun, the the ancient Kishon, the Wadi al-Batin in Saudi Arabia, and the Tigris and all these 4 rivers, their modern day sources are up in the high mountains. They're in the high mountains with snow melt. Snow melt is their source. Their source is no longer the spring in the ground. But if you go underwater and you go right off the coast of Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and other areas right there in the Persian Gulf, there's actually fresh water springs that come up out of the Gulf. They've found these. There's fresh water springs that come up out of the Gulf, and from that point they actually just go right into the ocean. And so what we have with that is a very likely possibility of the original river of Eden that flowed out, and the rivers used to go spread out from there into the Mesopotamian area. And I propose in my book that they used to have their river deltas in the Black and Caspian Seas, what is now the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. And you can find all this in my book, Creation's Week, Macrocosm of Creation Week. And I go over it in detail in the Genesis chapter 2 section. And so I just thought that on the first full day of summer, you could see a perfect example of this. Notice that this water is not coming from a spring in the ground. This water is coming from snow melt up high in the mountains. And so a perfect example of the concept, which is contrary to the people looking in Turkey and other places looking for the 4 rivers where they started from, because they reversed course. So an interesting fact is, people say, well, how do you know the rivers reverse course? Rivers don't reverse course. Well, you can actually look it up. It's a scientific fact. The Amazon River, the largest river in the world, in South America, actually it is known to have reversed course. The direction it's going now actually was opposite, and they say they've discovered evidence and proof of this, the ancient river delta that it used to be, and I submit before the flood, it used to flow in the opposite direction, but when the Andes Mountains erected out of the cataclysm of the flood and the subsequent separating of the nations on the earth, and God separated the lands of the whole earth, the Andes Mountains formed, and the river reversed course. It went in the opposite direction. And so it's also interesting that after the flood, where does Noah end up? Well, he ends up in the high mountains of Turkey around Ararat, and that's exactly the place where the rivers used to exit. That's where they used to exit, I propose. And now that is where they actually began. And it all has to do with Babylon, how Babylon is, I believe, the same place as the Garden of Eden, the place where rebellion happened, the place where Satan rebelled and tempted Adam and his wife into eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And once that happened, everything had to change course. And so notice that they go east of Jerusalem. The place of redemption is eastward of that is where rebellion started. The Garden of Eden, later on where rebellion continues, Babylon, and prophetically at the end times where rebellion will see its final manifestation when ultimately Christ comes back and all rebellion from Satan and his angels and all those who follow them will be finally and totally, completely judged and dealt with. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and the beautiful scenery up here in the Rocky Mountains, and we will see you here, there, in the air, or in the next video. God bless you.